A Camp Hill, Alabama electrical contractor could have prevented a 22-year-old electrician from incurring life-threatening burns by following safety procedures they knew were standard in the industry.
Boss Watch is a segment that we also do every single week where we take a look at what bosses were up to in the South and the American colonies. Take a look at the ways that they were violating the law, violating people's rights, stealing from people, getting people killed, stuff like that. We're going to start in Georgia this week, where investigators with the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration found that in 2023, two Piles Plumbing and Utility Contractors Incorporated, two of their employees in Macon, Georgia, were installing sewer line piping in a trench when the trench's side collapsed. One worker suffered fatal injuries, and another employee was hospitalized due to several fractures sustained in the cave-in. OSHA cited the employer for two willful violations for not providing trench shields that were in accordance with all specifications, recommendations, and limitations issued by the manufacturer, and neglecting to put in place a safe means to exit a trench box. In addition, federal investigators cited the employer for three serious violations for allowing employees to work inside a trench with defective trench shields and without head protection, and for failing to train employees to recognize and avoid hazards while working inside a trench. OSHA proposed $300,000 in penalties. In Tennessee, the U.S. Department of Labor has filed a complaint and motion seeking a temporary restraining order to prevent a Henry County farm from allegedly retaliating against two workers who asked about their wages, a protected activity under the Fair Labor Standards Act. Filed by the department on February 21st, 2024, the action asks the court to stop Tosh Pork, LLC, and Human Resources Manager Diana Rosa from continuing to violate the Fair Labor Standards Act through retaliatory actions against employees. The department's Wage and Hour Division found that two Tosh Pork workers who provide animal care to the farm's pigs cooperated with division investigators after the workers asked their employer about their pay. After Tosh Pork learned of an initial complaint, the employer tasked one employee with cleaning offices and bathrooms, as well as picking up pig waste, activities outside of their normal job duties. After accusing the employee of filing a federal complaint, Tosh Pork allegedly tried to force them to sign a document forbidding them from speaking with other employees about pay issues. Investigators also learned another worker who had also asked about their wages was called to meet with the farm's management and threatened with termination. Returning to their workstation, they found a severed pig's head.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. During its investigation, the agency also determined that Tosh Pork failed to meet employment requirements for H-2A visa workers and corresponding U.S. workers under the Immigration and Nationality Act. The division found the employer owed 5 workers $40,000 in back wages and assessed $36,000 in civil money penalties. Through the H-2A Agricultural Guest Worker Program, Tosh Pork employs people from foreign countries to work on its farms. The company owns 11,000 acres of land where it produces swine and grows corn, soybeans, wheat, canola, and barley. Yeah, absolutely wild stuff there. Also in Tennessee, the owner of 20 Highway 55 burgers, shakes, and fries locations has entered an enhanced compliance agreement with the U.S. Department of Labor that aims to improve working conditions for minor-aged employees and compliance with federal labor regulations at their 20 locations in Georgia, Louisiana, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. The agreement comes after the department's Wage and Hour Division investigated the Little Mint Incorporated, operating as Highway 55 Burgers, Shakes, and Fries in Crossville, and determined the employer employed 13 children to work after 7 p.m. between Labor Day and June the 1st, and more than 3 hours during a school day. Both violations of child labor provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. In addition, the employer employed a 15-year-old to use manual fryers for cooking fries, a prohibited task for workers under the age of 16. As part of the agreement, the Little Mint must take the following steps at each of their establishment to include any current and future locations owned to ensure compliance, and those are basically following the law. Absolutely crazy stuff.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
For coal miners, the U.S. Department of Labor announced last week, that its Mine Safety and Health Administration completed impact inspections at 15 mines in 10 states in January 2024, issuing 188 violations. The agency began conducting impact inspections after a 2010 explosion in West Virginia at the Upper Big Branch mine, killing 29 miners. MSHA's impact inspections since 2023 identified almost 3,000 violations. And the agency conducts impact inspections at mines that merit increased agency attention and enforcement due to poor compliance history, previous accidents, injuries and illnesses, and other compliance concerns. Of the 188 violations MSHA identified in January, 63 were identified as serious and significant, and 1 had unwarrantable failure findings. The agency completed these inspections at mines in Arizona, California, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. Inspectors arrived at the Lone Star Quarry and Mill mine at Cape Girardeau, Missouri. This is a representative mine on January 24th, and broke out into teams to begin an inspection within 15 minutes. And within 15 minutes, MSHA inspectors identified and cited violations. The total violations included 13 significant and serious, with several hazardous conditions that posed a significant risk to the safety and health of miners. Specifically, MSHA inspectors found the following conditions existed at the mine: multiple places with unconsolidated loose rock on a high wall, which could cause fatal injuries to miners falling from rocks; several defects on a haul truck in operation, exposing miners to the risk of serious injury in the event of a steering or dump brake failure; inadequate parking procedures for unattended equipment; and other serious violations, including housekeeping hazards, fire hazards, and electrical hazards. Several other stories that we wanted to just give you the headlines of. The U.S. Department of Labor cited Atlanta, Georgia chemical manufacturer SIC Technologies with a staggering 67 violations and a proposed penalty of almost $300,000 for exposing workers to a series of workplace dangers associated with chemicals and struck-by hazards. The USDOL's Wage and Hour Division found 53 locations of Boomerang Diner failed to properly calculate overtime wages and recovered $54,000 in stolen wages and $54,000 in liquidated damages for 107 employees. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced a settlement requiring Haifa North America in Altamonte Springs, Florida, to pay a civil $660,000 penalty for violations of chemical data reporting regulations under the Toxic Substances Control Act. The USDOL recovered over $400,000 in back wages, unpaid bonuses, and equitable remedy, and liquidated damages for 2 former Mercedes-Benz workers in Alabama after the employer violated their rights to protected leave under the Family and Medical Leave Act. A Camp Hill, Alabama electrical contractor could have prevented a 22-year-old electrician from incurring life-threatening arc flash burns by following safety procedures they knew were standard in the industry, a USDOL investigation found. OSHA proposed almost $100,000 in penalties for Smith's electrical service and repair. The U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division found that Gaston Group, LLC, operating as 7-Eleven in Fort Worth, Texas, failed to pay 21 employees for all hours worked. The department recovered $20,000 in owed back wages, $20,000 in liquidated damages, and $13,000 in civil money penalties. The U.S. Department of Labor safety investigators found a Selma brick manufacturer exposed workers to silica crystalline respiratory hazards that have the potential to lead to lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and kidney disease. The Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration cited Henry Brick Company, Incorporated, with 11 serious citations and proposed $120,000 in penalties.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.